When I lost my job, I asked my sister for help. She let me stay in her guest room, then reported me for trespassing and pressed charges. "You've always been a burden," she told the officer. I spent a night in jail before quietly calling a lawyer and showing him the signed agreement she'd forgotten she left in our shared email account that I lost my job on a cold Wednesday morning in February 2022. I remember the exact date, February 9th, because it was my 15th work anniversary. No party, no cake. Just an email from HR saying my position was being eliminated. I packed up my office in silence, said goodbye to nobody, and drove home numb. I was 47, divorced, no kids, living in a rented basement apartment that sucked up half my paycheck. No savings thanks to a messy divorce 4 years earlier. When I called my landlord to tell him I might be late on rent, he said he understood, but only for a month. After that, I was out. I called Dawn 2 days later. My sister. She was 5 years older, had always looked down on me, but I figured family meant something in moments like this. She lived in Kirkland, not far from Seattle, with her husband Craig. They had a nice house, no kids, both worked in tech. I asked her if I could stay for a little while, just until I found another job. She didn't say yes right away. She made a show of thinking about it. Then she said, "Fine, but I want it in writing, so it doesn't get messy." I agreed. I wrote a short email. Staying in guest room, no rent, help around house until further notice. She replied, "Agreed." We sent it through the old Gmail account we'd once shared years ago to handle Mom's estate. She must have forgotten about that. I moved in that Sunday. 2 bags, laptop, and a worn-out suit I hoped I wouldn't have to wear long. The guest room was clean, small, no windows. She gave me one shelf in the fridge and told me not to use the laundry after 7 p.m. Craig didn't even help me carry my bags in. The first 2 weeks, I stayed out of the way, cleaned the kitchen, ran errands, took out the trash. I made dinner twice a week to say thank you. Dawn didn't say much, just gave me these tight smiles that never reached her eyes. Craig avoided me altogether. By the 3rd week, she started making comments. "I hope you're not getting too comfortable. Job hunting takes 8 hours a day, you know." Then one day, she said, "We didn't sign up to support you. This is temporary. Don't forget that." I didn't argue. I said thank you. I kept looking for work. But the market was tough, and I was older than most applicants. I got 2 interviews, no offers. One night in April, I came home from a job fair, tired, frustrated, hungry. I opened the fridge to grab a sandwich I'd made earlier. The fridge was locked. A thick metal chain and a padlock wrapped through the handles. I stood there staring, thinking maybe I was hallucinating. Dawn walked in. Too many snacks disappearing. "This is for everyone's benefit." "You serious?" I asked. "You're not contributing. So no more freeloading." I went to bed hungry that night. Woke up the next morning to a banging on my door. Not a knock, a banging. "Open up. Police." I opened the door in my boxers. 2 officers, one male, one female. Dawn was standing behind them in a robe, arms crossed. "Sir, we've been informed you're trespassing on private property." "She invited me," I said. "She let me stay here." "She asked you to leave," the officer said. "No, she didn't. She's afraid for her safety," the female officer added. That was a lie. A total lie. I'd never laid a hand on anyone in my life. Dawn stepped forward and said, "He won't leave. He has no job, no money. I don't feel safe." I looked at her. Really looked at her. Cold. No emotion. Like I was some homeless stranger she found in her garage. I asked if I could grab my phone, show them the email. It had died overnight. They cuffed me. I didn't fight. I didn't even speak. They put me in a holding cell overnight. Loud. Bright. Stinking of sweat and fear. I sat on the metal bench and didn't sleep a minute. Next morning, they let me go. No charges. Misunderstanding, they said. But the damage was done. I walked out, found a payphone, and called an old friend who owed me a favor. He picked me up, let me shower at his place, and lent me his laptop. I logged into the old shared email account. Found her message. "You can stay in the guest room as long as you need. No rent. Just help with basic chores. Let me know if anything changes." That one line was all I needed. I printed it. Called a lawyer. Used the last of my money on the consultation. He read the email twice. Looked at me and said, "You've got her." I didn't smile. I didn't nod. I just sat there, thinking, she doesn't know what she started. The lawyer's name was Ben Cartwright. Early 60s, plain-spoken, sharp eyes. He'd handled tenant-landlord disputes before, but what caught his attention was the email. Written permission to stay. No end date. That's not trespassing. That's wrongful eviction and possibly defamation. He filed paperwork within a week. A civil suit. Not just to clear my name, but for damages. I wasn't after money at first. I wanted her to face consequences. But Ben said, "You've been slandered, humiliated, and arrested. That costs something." Dawn didn't take it seriously. She sent a message through her attorney calling the claim pathetic and retaliatory. Her lawyer claimed I emotionally manipulated her, took advantage of her kindness, and refused to leave. They offered $500 if I agreed to drop it. I didn't respond. 3 days later, Dawn posted on Facebook a long status update about toxic family members and having to make hard choices to protect your peace. She never used my name, but it was obvious who she meant. Our mutual relatives saw it. A couple even messaged me saying what really happened, but most stayed quiet. Then I got a letter from the local paper. Dawn had filed a police report claiming I stole prescription meds from their bathroom while I was staying there. I hadn't, not even close. But that report added more weight to her claim that I was dangerous. Ben was furious. She's building a paper trail of lies. But if we get to court and a jury sees that email and then this smear campaign, she'll fold. It got worse. She filed for a restraining order, said I was harassing her by sending emails and showing up at her house. I had done neither. I hadn't contacted her once since the arrest. The only contact came through lawyers. The judge granted a temporary order, which meant I couldn't be within 500 feet of her house. That was fine with me. I had no interest in ever stepping foot near that place again. But it also meant I couldn't collect the rest of my things. My books, my clothes, even my dead father's watch, which I'd kept in the nightstand drawer. Ben filed for a discovery order, forced them to produce the agreement, communications, even security footage from the doorbell camera. What he found was gold. 3 days before she had me arrested, she texted Craig, "He's not leaving on his own. I'm going to make it happen. Cops if I have to." That was proof of premeditation. Not fear. Not danger. Just manipulation. When we submitted that to the court, everything changed. But then, something else hit me harder than I expected. I found out she'd told our Aunt Marlene, our mom's sister, that I'd been struggling with addiction again. There was no again. I'd never touched drugs. Not once. But Dawn had learned, a long time ago, that once you put a label like that on someone, it sticks. Marlene believed her. And she told others. Within a month, my reputation in the family was shot. Cousins stopped replying to texts. One aunt blocked me on Facebook. My own godson, Dawn's kid texted, "My mom says you're dangerous. Please don't come around anymore." And still, she acted like she was the victim, posting cryptic Bible quotes, telling people how hurtful it is when people you love betray you. She was playing the long game, trying to destroy everything I had left. My name, my dignity, my connections. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that I'd found something even better than the email. Something buried in a folder she thought was deleted. I wasn't ready to use it yet, but when I did, it would be the end of her mask. While Ben handled the court filings, I kept digging. I still had access to that old shared email account. Dawn must have forgotten it existed, or assumed I couldn't get in. She hadn't changed the password since we used it during our mother's estate process 6 years ago. Inside the drive folder was something I hadn't noticed before. A subfolder labeled HOA Docs. I clicked out of boredom more than anything else. That's when I found it. PDFs, scans of signed documents, copies of checks, and an Excel spreadsheet Dawn had kept, probably to track payments. Turns out, Dawn had been quietly renting out her basement to short-term tenants through a backdoor deal, violating her homeowners association rules. The HOA didn't allow rentals under 12 months, but Dawn had been taking under-the-table tenants for years. At least 6 different names showed up in the documents, all short-term. All paid in cash or direct Venmo payments marked babysitting, yoga, or guitar lessons. The spreadsheet had one tab labeled Craig's Cut. That's when I realized her husband was in on it too. He wasn't passive. He helped cover it up. If the HOA found out, she could be fined thousands. If it became public, her job in tech, already sensitive to reputational issues, could be at risk. I saved everything, duplicated it, sent it to a cloud account, password protected. I wasn't ready to pull the trigger yet, but I had leverage now. Real leverage. While this was happening, her lawyer doubled down, claimed I was fabricating the email agreement, and had manipulated access to her email. Ben laughed in their face. It came from her email, and she replied, agreed. This won't hold. Then, 2 nights later, someone slashed my car tires. I'd been staying at a friend's place in Auburn, about 45 minutes south of Seattle. Quiet neighborhood. No crime, no drama. Until I walked out that morning and saw all 4 tires flat and knife marks across the driver's side door. No note. No witnesses. Nothing on the street cameras. But I knew. Dawn had escalated things again. Not legally. Not through the system. This was personal. Vindictive. Dangerous. I reported it. Got a police report. Filed it under the case with Ben. Still no proof it was her, but the pattern was clear. This wasn't about her kicking me out anymore. She wanted to ruin me. Erase me. So I stopped playing fair. I started reaching out quietly to people she hadn't poisoned against me yet. People who might still be neutral. One of them, a cousin who worked in real estate, said she's got a second mortgage she never told Craig about. I saw her name come up on a refinance deal 2 years ago. He didn't think much of it, but I did. I asked him to look again. He found the file. It was real. She'd refinanced the house behind Craig's back to cover credit card debt. And suddenly, I saw the bigger picture. Dawn wasn't a cold, perfect woman who had it all figured out. She was desperate, buried in lies. And now, she'd made the mistake of targeting the one person who had nothing left to lose, and nothing left to protect her from what was coming. I waited 6 weeks. Ben kept pushing the civil suit forward. Dawn stalled. Her lawyer tried to intimidate us with motion after motion, but nothing stuck. That email agreement? It was ironclad. Every time they tried to spin it, we reminded them. She sent it. She agreed to it. Then she lied to police, had me arrested, defamed me, and tried to ruin my name. Still, I knew the civil case alone wouldn't be enough. She'd walk away with a fine and a slap on the wrist. Maybe some bad press, maybe not. And it wouldn't undo what she did to me, what she took from me. So I pulled the pin on the grenade she forgot she left in my hands. First, I sent an anonymous tip, with attachments, to her HOA board. Every short-term rental she hosted, every payment disguised as something else, every violation documented. Her scanned signature on those checks? Right there. Her emails coordinating with tenants? Included. I heard back within 4 days. My cousin in real estate sent me a screenshot. The HOA had called an emergency meeting. Fines were possible, maybe even legal action. Then I sent a different packet, this one to her company's ethics office. It included the HOA violations, yes, but also the refinance documents I got from our cousin. Dawn had forged Craig's electronic signature to get the second mortgage. That was real fraud. She worked for a financial tech company. Image mattered. And the last piece? I sent Craig everything. All of it. I wrote a single line in the email. She said you knew. I didn't think you did. 2 days passed. On the 3rd, I got a call from Ben. He sounded shocked. Craig's lawyer just reached out. He's filing for divorce. And he's willing to submit a sworn statement confirming she lied to police about the trespassing report. That changed everything. Suddenly, Dawn had no leg to stand on. No husband. No defense. No credibility. Her lawyer called us 2 weeks later and asked if we'd consider settling. Ben said no. He wanted a public court decision on file, a judgment of wrongful arrest and defamation. He wanted to make sure it followed her. And that's exactly what happened. 6 months after the arrest, the judge ruled in my favor. I won damages. Enough to live on for a while. More importantly, I got a full written statement on record. I had permission to stay. She lied to police. She acted with malice. The restraining order was dismissed. My name was cleared. But she wasn't done paying yet. The HOA hit her with over $30,000 in fines and back penalties. She lost her job 2 weeks after the court decision. The company didn't want the PR mess. Her reputation in her neighborhood tanked. Neighbors stopped talking to her. Craig got the house in the divorce, partly because she'd secretly mortgaged it, and partly because she was exposed as a liar in court. She had to move out. Last I heard, she was living in a 2-bedroom apartment in Renton, working a job that barely paid half what she used to make. No husband. No house. No respect. I didn't speak to her again. Never needed to. But once, about a year after the judgment, I passed her in the parking lot of a grocery store. She was walking out with a bag of groceries, alone. She looked thinner, older, like the stress had aged her a decade. She saw me. Stopped. I didn't stop. I just walked past her. She opened her mouth like she might say something, but I didn't give her the chance. She started this war. All I did was finish it.